For 10 years, the ranch had been a mausoleum. Once filled with the scent of warm bread and the sound of Clara's laughter, it now stood silent, frozen in time. Jacob Hale lived there alone, a ghost haunting the husk of his own life. The fences sagged, the barn leaned, and the house itself seemed to whisper Clara's name in the wind. Her shawl still hung by the door, a silent sentinel. Her favorite books gathered a decade of dust on the shelf. Every single morning, out of unbreakable habit, he brewed 2 cups of coffee. One always grew cold, untouched. In the nearby town, they called him the Ghost Rancher, a man surviving on memories, not meals. They'd nod when he rode through, a polite but distant acknowledgement. No one ever asked how he was. They didn't have to. Everyone knew. One evening, as the Wyoming sky bled red across the plains, Jacob spotted something on the horizon. A wagon, slow and unexpected, making its way up his long, neglected drive. It had been years since anyone came this far out. When it creaked to a halt near his porch, a woman stepped down. Her clothes were dusty, her posture weary, but her eyes, he knew those eyes instantly. Gray, deep, and familiar. Just like Clara's. "Jacob," she said, her voice a soft murmur against the vast quiet. "It's me." Lydia, Clara's younger sister. The one who fled to the city right after the funeral, disappearing into a new life, never to be heard from again. Jacob's breath hitched in his chest. A decade of silence broken in a single moment. "What brings you here?" he managed, his voice rough from disuse. "The city wasn't kind," she answered, offering a faint, careful smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I've been looking for work, or maybe just some peace," I thought. "Maybe you could use another pair of hands around here." He didn't answer right away. The resemblance was a physical blow. Looking at her was like seeing a phantom, and it hurt more than he could have imagined. But beneath that painful echo of his wife, he saw something else, something he understood all too well, a profound and aching loneliness. Finally, he gave a slow, deliberate nod. "You can stay a while." That night, for the first time in a decade, the house felt different. It wasn't full, not yet, but it was no longer dead. While Lydia quietly unpacked her few belongings in the guest room, Jacob lit a fire in the hearth, the flames chasing away shadows that had long since settled in. They ate a simple soup at the old kitchen table, the conversation circling around safe. Impersonal things, the weather, the price of feed, the chores that needed doing. But beneath every word lay the heavy, unspoken weight of their shared grief. At one point, Lydia let out a soft, almost involuntary laugh at something he said. The sound was so foreign, so out of place that Jacob nearly froze. He hadn't heard laughter inside those walls in 10 years. The sound felt like a crack in the ice. Over the next few days, the ranch began a slow, hesitant return to life. Lydia moved through the silent rooms like a quiet storm, cleaning spaces that had been sealed off for years. She cooked warm meals that filled the house with forgotten aromas, and sometimes she hummed old folk songs without even realizing she was doing it. Jacob told himself he was just grateful for the help. Nothing more, but he couldn't deny the change. The air was lighter. The silence was less oppressive. But there were moments that were almost too much to bear. When the late evening sun slanted through the window, catching her face at just the right angle, she looked so much like Clara it stole his breath. The memories would rush back, sharp and painful, a tidal wave of what he'd lost. He tried not to stare, but he always did. One night, a fierce storm rolled in over the valley, unleashing wild winds and a hard, driving rain. Jacob was out in it, fighting to secure the horses in the old barn. When he finally stumbled back to the house, soaked to the bone and shivering, he found Lydia waiting at the door, a thick wool blanket in her hands. "You'll get sick," she murmured, her voice laced with genuine concern as she wrapped the blanket around his broad shoulders. Her touch was a jolt. Not from the cold, but from a simple, human warmth he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a decade. For a long, suspended moment, a flash of lightning illuminated the porch, freezing them in a tableau. 2 souls caught between the past that haunted them and a future that was terrifyingly uncertain. "I still miss her," Jacob whispered, the words torn from him, raw and honest. "So do I," Lydia replied softly, her gaze unwavering. "But this house—" You've turned it into a grave, Jacob. She wouldn't have wanted that for you. She wouldn't have wanted this. He swallowed hard, the truth of her words hitting him like the rain. You're her sister. Every time I look at you, I see her. Maybe that's why I came, she said, taking a small step closer, closing the space between them. Maybe she knew you shouldn't be alone anymore. His heart hammered in his chest, a frantic rhythm of hope and guilt he couldn't untangle. Was it a betrayal to feel this flicker of life? Was it wrong to want more than memory? Lydia gently took his cold, calloused hand in hers. Her touch was steady, reassuring. You deserve to feel alive again, Jacob. He didn't pull away. He couldn't. Later they sat by the fire as the storm rumbled itself into exhaustion outside. No more words were needed. They sat in the quiet comfort of two people who had finally stopped running from the ghosts they shared. When Lydia, weary from the day, rested her head on his shoulder, he let her. It wasn't love, not yet. It was something more fundamental. It was the profound relief of no longer being alone in the dark. The next morning, as dawn's first light washed over the Wyoming plains, Jacob opened his eyes. He was on the old sofa, the fire now a bed of glowing embers. A blanket was tucked around him. Sunlight streamed through the clean windows, and from the kitchen, he could hear the gentle clink of a coffee cup and the smell of bacon frying. The house felt warm again. It felt alive. And for the first time in 10 long years, Jacob Hale didn't wake up by himself.